A stereotypical Obby is a game that just keeps getting stranger and stranger as time goes on. But today, I think I've finally cracked it. Because with all that's been revealed to us, and despite there still being super cryptic aspects of the lore, I think that overall, I have solved this game and the story it's trying to tell. This intro is going to be super short because I have a lot to do and I already made like a longer intro thing, so yeah. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that we can hit 15,000 subscribers, and without further ado, let's jump into it. So, admittedly, I delayed this video by about 2 weeks primarily because of something the developers said in the game's Discord. When the Good Ending Part 1 update dropped, the devs promised a 1.5 update, containing lore hints, and it said it was going to be dropping roughly 2 weeks after the update, and so I waited. But in the meantime, I used those 2 weeks to mull over some of the theories that I made. And I know that there's been this timeline thing floating around, which I like it a lot, but there's some details missing from it, I think, and with this new update, it's basically confirmed that that timeline is a bit off, at least in my opinion. So firstly, I'll go over what happened in the new content, and then I will go over some theories, and finally end off with a sort of timeline of my own. In the Good Ending Part 1 update, 3 special minigames have been added to the Obby that shed an incredible amount of light onto the lore of this game. You can access these minigames by triggering Helper's secret dialogue, then making it to stages 30 to 50. Green glitchy paths will appear, taking you off and activating the game's elusive Fear protocol. More on that later. The first minigame is called a Stereotypical Tycoon, which shows the supposed origins of Juxtaposed Technology's newest building, and the Axiom VR headset. Everything is fine and, well, exactly as the name suggests, it's a Stereotypical Tycoon, until a mysterious Sector 2 is built. If you stand next to the doors for long enough, you'll be able to hear ambience coming from this side of the building. All of this changes when you complete the Tycoon and are forced into first person. The sound of a large door opening can be heard, and the player is given the cryptic and kinda creepy task to investigate the trespasser. Their task is cut short when the building suddenly erupts into flames, and the player is forced to escape. However, like all horror games, if you poke around, you'll find out that there's even more to the story. As of the 1.5 update, hidden in plain sight into the front of the building is a keypad. During the fire, when walking past the headset-making machines, you can find numbers flashing on the machine. If you input the numbers in the correct sequence onto the keypad, you get a secret ending. In it, someone, who I assume to be the player, reflects on this facility burning, and ultimately concludes that this is the beginning of the end. A red torso-looking thing activates from the rubble, and the arm of what I assume to be a helper bot sparks to life. The next minigame is called Experiment 0. During this game, the player is told to initiate compliance in the subject. If that doesn't sound ominous enough, just wait till you play this thing. The player is tasked with essentially torturing someone repeatedly with electric shocks, light flashes, and loud noises. After a while, the damaged security robot that inhabits the facility sparks to life inside the subject's room. The player is then forced into a FNAF-style minigame in order to prevent the security bot from exiting the room and killing them brutally. Once 100% compliance has been reached, the player is free to go. However, like last time, there's more to this minigame. If you input this ridiculously long code into the console, a secret room opens up in the back. In this back room is a lone TV and an instruction tape of sorts. Let's take a watch.
TopHatKing is now hiring franchise owners to lead our new initiative, Juxtaposed Technologies. Juxtaposed Technologies will be the leading company for the study of the human mind and its inner workings, building products to increase the efficiency of thought. Funding will be completely provided by TopHatKing and will have the protection of our elite Central Task Force. Together we can work to become the face of a better future. Apply to lead this one-of-a-kind initiative today. Do not wait.
So, as we can see in the tape, we are shown that Juxtaposed Technologies is not their own corporate entity, but rather part of a larger corporation known as Empyrean. This company was seeking a franchisee, someone with a knack for the human consciousness and would be dedicated to the pursuit of new and innovative technologies. The security system thing at the end seems to imply that the helper robots were created by this company, that's just a theory at the end of the day. The third and final minigame is called Hallways. In this minigame, we seemingly play as the same character in the last two, who has returned to their house, where they have either a schizophrenic episode or a guilt-induced panic attack. Either way, the player slowly descends into madness as they begin to imagine objects moving and disappearing when he interacts with them. Eventually, guilt over some past action involving their child takes over them, and they eventually just collapse on the floor. It's a really terrifying experience, and it's kind of crazy how this game kind of doxes you at the end, but whatever. As always, there's a secret ending. If you run up against the left wall in the starting area, you'll enter this flat plane of existence where I assume the player's most repressed memories lie. In it, we finally get to witness what I think is one of the most random moments in the entire series, the police report ending of Repla County Archives. Kind of going into theory territory, but I don't really care. For those who don't know, Stereotypical Obby has a sister game called Repla County Archives, and it has a secret ending in which you input a code into a telephone. Doing so rewards the player with a situation report from the Repla County Sheriff's Department, which basically details a crash on the road with 2 deceased and the driver not being able to be found. This ending always felt strange to me and super random because there's like no link to anything else, but this secret ending in ASO has really given more context to that. Considering that, well, we are driving this gray SUV that was talked about in the police report, we do experience a drive-by shooting, crash into the woods, and escape. Which means, ladies and gentlemen, that after much fan speculation, it is now basically confirmed that the protagonist of RCA is the child of the protagonist of ASO. Because why would they receive a police report in the first place if they're just some random? No, this is a police report of what happened to their family. That is why we're receiving it. Reading the incident report again, we can learn that a 15-year-old and a 35-year-old were found dead in the car following both the crash and the multiple gunshots. These were probably the ASO protagonist's wife and daughter, respectively. The player runs through the woods and gets seemingly gassed by a helicopter before we hard cut back to the house, where we find the censored corpse of the older child from RCA. Seemingly with their last moments of life, the child asks, "Why didn't you come for me? Why all this tragedy? Why all this loss and suffering for our protagonist?" Well, get ready, because I think I've figured out pretty much everything that there is to this story, and I'm gonna answer every question. Well, almost every question. Trust me, it's gonna blow your mind. Probably the first thing we need to do is figure out what event happened first. Now, I know a lot of people think that the Tycoon minigame has to be the first in the timeline because it shows the creation of the Juxtaposed Technologies building, but now I think differently. See, I don't think the Tycoon happens first anymore because of the tape found in Experiment 0. Here, we see that the company is looking for a new franchisee to lead new technologies, implying that the company has existed for some time before the player character came into the picture. And we know it did because it appears to be a branch of this elusive Empyrean company. We were not the first. We're just the newest. So why did we sign and join this company? Well, it's unclear as of now. Whatever the reasoning was, we were certainly qualified either way. In the hallways map, we can see books that seem to imply that we were extremely knowledgeable when it came to the human mind and thought. With a butt-ton of cash from Empyrean and a team of security robots at the player's side, we created the Axiom VR headset, a VR helmet with a built-in AI system that would create personalized experiences based on the thoughts and memories of the user. This program, I think, was given the acronym FEAR. So how do we create such an AI, since this series apparently takes place in the late 90s and early 2000s? Well, it's by repeated psychological tests on normal people. This was something likely done at the beginning of our takeover, as the instruction sheet says in Experiment 0 that we don't really need this, do we? It's a horrifying process for sure. Even our character has remorse. But it's what needs to be done in the pursuit of science, is a lie we probably told ourselves. Well, people were not happy. As we can see in Repla County Archives, both the police and the public see the headsets as evil, likely hearing rumors of human experimentation playing a role in the technology, which is something that we see in the Obby when it's like kind of replicating the real world at the end of it. So, on the 7th of June in 2003, as riots break out in the neighborhood on their son's own birthday, the player, their wife, and their daughter are out on the road. The player and their family are the victims of a drive-by shooting. Which causes the vehicle to crash into the woods. The shooters return and fire more shots into the car, confirming the deaths of the wife and the daughter. The player escapes into the woods despite getting gassed by a helicopter. Still not really sure on that. And they escape alive to their house, only to find their bleeding, censored corpse of their oldest child on the floor. As they cling on to life, the child seems confused and angry. His last words are haunting and help cement why I think these events come before the Tycoon. Evil has no limits. Together, we will burn. It is my belief that in the Tycoon minigame, there is no trespasser. The words are literally in quotations anyways. This was the spirit of the eldest child, vengeful and angry that their surviving parent, who not only inadvertently got their family and themselves killed, but also experimented on people. Their ghost caused the fire, and after this new juxtaposed technology building was finished, it was destroyed. Although the players should have died, they escape. They even reflect on such in the secret ending. Meanwhile, I believe the child moves on and possesses the helper bot. Need more proof that this is the case? Well, let me turn your attention to the player's car in this part of the story. It's a white SUV. When trying to connect ASO to RCA, I always found it strange how the minigame gave them a white car, but the police report describes a gray one. But now it makes a lot more sense. The gray car was the old car that experienced the drive-by shooting and crashed into a tree in the forest, so it would make total sense that the player, who's now alone, would buy a new white car. But I digress. The next event is Experiment 0. We can tell this is the case because the helper robot and the facility itself are in a state of disrepair and showing signs of fire damage and withering. The helper bot is also extremely bloodthirsty, which could be explained by the fact that the child is still possessing the robot, FNAF style. It's also kind of strange how the player is still coming to do these experiments in Sector 2 of the burned down and defunct JT building, but if you think about it, in Five Nights at Freddy's, literally every game you play in a derelict pizzeria that's not active anymore, so I can look past that. The next part of the timeline is the actual panic attack shown in hallways. Now all alone, our poor player character is finally confronted with their actions, and I think after this experience, this is what motivates them to go back to the facility and try to right the wrongs of their past, by trying to free the minds of all those turned into helpers into the game. This is what I think the good ending will probably see us do, giving us closure to both this haunting tech company's practices and a showdown between a regretful parent and an angry child. But anyways, that's all I got for today. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe, because I might do another video on Empyrean specifically and all that other stuff. So, yeah. Also, turn on notifications. I don't really ask, but YouTube's kind of weird, so I actually want you guys to see my videos, because I like money. Anyways, yeah. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.